Hacked worked tirelessly at the makeshift console he'd cobbled together from salvaged parts. The abandoned transit station hummed with the low murmur of their gathered allies, but Hack's focus was entirely on the stream of data flowing across his screen. Captain Hacked called out, his whiskers twitching with nervous energy, "I think you need to see this." Jeb made his way over, followed closely by Killian and Vex. "What have you found, Hacked?" "It's about Empress Arya," Hacked said, his voice low. "I've managed to decrypt more of the files we pulled from the palace systems. It's worse than we thought." As the team huddled around the small screen, Hacked began to lay out what he'd discovered. Arya's been planning this for years. Long before we even started our rebellion, she didn't just kill her brother and other heirs. She's been systematically eliminating anyone who could possibly challenge her rule. Killian's face darkened. "We knew she was ruthless, but this..." Hack nodded grimly. "It goes deeper. She's got plans for re-education camps, for purging entire systems of undesirables. And that superweapon, it's just the first of many she plans to build." Vex's eyes widened in horror. "She's not just trying to maintain the Empire. She's aiming to expand it, to conquer the entire galaxy. And she's using us as the excuse," Jeb said, his voice tight with anger. "Our rebellion is her justification for all of this. She's painting us as terrorists, using the fear we've created to consolidate her power." As Hacked continued to relay the information he'd uncovered, the weight of their situation settled heavily on the team. They had thought they were close to victory, but now it seemed they had inadvertently paved the way for an even more terrible regime. "There's more," Hacked said, his ears drooping. "She's not just content with ruling the Empire. She's actively hunting us down. There are orders here, bounties on our heads. She wants us captured or killed, to make an example of us." The team exchanged grim looks. They had been hunted before, but never like this. Never by someone with the resources of an entire empire at their disposal. "So what do we do?" Killian asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Jeb's face was set with determination. "We fight. We expose her for what she is. We show the galaxy the truth about their new empress." As the team began to discuss strategies, Hacked couldn't shake a feeling of dread. They were up against something far bigger and more terrible than they had ever faced before. The race that had defined their lives had transformed into something far more deadly, with the fate of the entire galaxy hanging in the balance. But as he looked at his crewmates, his family, Hacked felt a spark of hope. They had overcome impossible odds before. Somehow, they would find a way to do it again. They had to. The alternative was too horrifying to contemplate. The air in the abandoned transit station was thick with tension as Hacked continued to monitor their makeshift communications array. Suddenly, his ears perked up, catching a faint signal amidst the static. Captain Hacked called out, his voice urgent. "I'm picking up Imperial chatter. They know where we are." Jeb rushed over, his face grim. "How? We've been so careful." As Hacked decrypted more of the intercepted messages, his heart sank. "It looks like they captured some of our militia members. They broke under interrogation." A heavy silence fell over the group as the implications sank in. Their sanctuary was compromised. Before anyone could react further, the station shook violently. The sound of explosions filled the air, followed by the ominous hum of Imperial dropships. "We're under attack," Killian shouted, already moving to defensive positions. "Everyone, battle stations." Chaos erupted as their allies scrambled to prepare for the assault. Hack's paws flew over his console, trying to get a read on the Imperial forces bearing down on them. Multiple entry points, Hacked squeaked, his fur standing on end. "They're coming in from all sides." Jeb's voice cut through the pandemonium, steady and authoritative. "Zeke, take your team and secure the north entrance. Vex, you're on the south. Killian, coordinate our heavy weapons. Hacked, I need you to find us an escape route. We might need to bug out fast." As Hacked worked frantically to map potential escape routes, the sound of blaster fire grew closer. The acrid smell of smoke began to fill the air as explosions rocked the station. "They've breached the outer defenses," someone shouted. Hack looked up from his console to see Imperial soldiers pouring into the station. The air was filled with energy bolts as their allies returned fire, but it was clear they were vastly outgunned. Hack, status on that escape route, Jeb called out, firing his blaster at the encroaching enemy. Working on it, Captain Hack replied, his mind racing. There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the surface, but it's on the other side of the station. We'll have to fight our way through. As Hack relayed the information to Jeb, he saw Zeke's team engaging in fierce close-quarters combat with the Imperials. Zeke was a whirlwind of motion, his flamboyant style somehow effective even in the heat of battle. But the Imperial forces kept coming, an endless tide of white armor and precise shots. Hack watched in horror as allies fell around them, the station that had been their sanctuary turning into a death trap. "We can't hold them," Vex shouted over the din of battle. "There's too many." Jeb's face was set with grim determination. "Fall back to the maintenance tunnel. We'll cover your retreat." As Hack prepared to move, he couldn't shake the feeling that this might be their last stand. The Empire had found them, and they were bringing everything they had to bear. The race for survival had never been more desperate, and Hack knew that not everyone would make it to the finish line this time. The maintenance tunnel echoed with the sounds of battle as Hack and the others fought their way through. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of blaster fire. Hack's heart raced as he guided the team, his racing instincts now being used to navigate a deadly urban battlefield. "Watch out," Hack squeaked, spotting a squad of soldiers rounding the corner ahead. Killian reacted instantly, laying down suppressing fire as the others took cover. The close quarters of the tunnel made every encounter a life-or-death struggle. Suddenly, Zeke's voice crackled over their comms. "They're pushing hard on our flank. We need backup." "Zeke, fall back," Jeb ordered. "We can't hold this position." But Zeke's response was drowned out by a massive explosion that shook the entire tunnel. When the dust settled, their comms were filled with panicked voices. "Zeke's team is cut off," someone shouted. The tunnels collapsed. Vex's face paled. "We have to go back for them." Jeb's expression was pained but resolute. "We can't. We'd be overrun in minutes." Zeke knew the risks. As if to punctuate Jeb's words, Zeke's voice came through one last time, broken and static-filled. "Go. Get out of here. We'll hold them as long as we can." Vex let out a cry of anguish as the comm went dead. Hack felt a wave of despair wash over him. Zeke, with all his flamboyance and bravery, was gone. But there was no time to mourn. The Imperial forces were still coming, and they were running out of options. "This way," Hack called out, leading them down a branching path. "There's an access hatch to the surface about 200 meters ahead." As they ran, Hack could hear the sounds of combat behind them. More of their allies were falling, buying time with their lives for the core team to escape. They reached the access hatch, but as Killian worked to open it, another explosion rocked the tunnel. Debris rained down, and Hack heard cries of pain from some of their remaining crew members. "Go," Jeb shouted as the hatch finally opened. "Everyone up, now." Hack scrambled up the ladder, his small size allowing him to move quickly. As he emerged onto the war-torn streets of Buena Terra, he did a quick head count. His heart sank as he realized how few of them had made it. Jeb, Killian, and Vex were there, along with a handful of others. But so many faces were missing. The crew that had become his family over years of racing and fighting was now a fraction of what it had been. Vex's eyes were hollow with shock and grief. "Zeke, he's really gone." Killian placed a hand on her shoulder, his usual gruffness softened by shared loss. "He died a hero, Vex. They all did." As the reality of their losses sank in, Hack felt a mixture of sorrow and determination. They had suffered a devastating blow, but they were still alive, still fighting. The streets of Buena Terra were a war zone. Smoke billowed from burning buildings, and the sound of distant explosions echoed through the air. Hack's ears swiveled constantly, alert for any sign of approaching danger as he led the remnants of their team through the chaos. Imperial patrol. Coming in from the east, Hack squeaked, his nose twitching as he caught the scent of ozone from their energy weapons. Jeb motioned for everyone to take cover in the shadows of a collapsed building. "We need to find a way off this planet," he whispered, his voice tight with urgency. "Hacked, any ideas?" Hack's mind raced, drawing on every scrap of knowledge he'd gleaned from their time on Buena Terra. "There's a small spaceport about 2 kilometers from here," he said. "It's risky, but it might be our best shot at finding a ship." As they began to move towards the spaceport, the sound of Imperial dropships grew louder. Suddenly, the building next to them erupted in flames as a stray shot from the aerial battle above found its mark. "Run!" Killian shouted, firing his blaster at a squad of soldiers that had appeared through the smoke. The team sprinted through the burning streets, dodging energy bolts and leaping over debris. Hack's small size allowed him to navigate the chaos with agility, but he could hear the labored breathing of his companions as they pushed themselves to their limits. Vex, still reeling from the loss of Zeke, moved with a fierce determination. Her eyes burned with a mix of grief and rage as she took down Imperial troops with deadly precision. As they rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with an Imperial walker. The massive machine loomed over them, its weapons powering up. "Scatter!" Jeb yelled, diving for cover as the walker opened fire. The street erupted in explosions, shrapnel flying everywhere. Hack felt a sharp pain in his side as a piece of debris grazed him, but he forced himself to keep moving. "This way," he called out, spotting a narrow alley that the walker couldn't follow them into. The team regrouped in the alley, all of them breathing heavily. Hack did a quick count, his heart sinking as he realized they'd lost 2 more of their companions in the chaos. "We're almost there," Jeb said, his voice steady despite the dire situation. "Just a little further to the spaceport." As they emerged from the alley, the spaceport came into view, but between them and potential salvation was a gauntlet of Imperial forces. "One last push," Killian growled, checking his weapon. "We didn't come this far to fail now." With a collective nod, the team surged forward. Blaster fire filled the air as they fought their way towards the spaceport. Hack's racing instincts were in overdrive, guiding him through the chaos with an almost preternatural awareness. They were meters away from the spaceport entrance when another explosion rocked the area. The building they were passing began to collapse, flames engulfing its structure. "Keep going," Jeb shouted, urging the team forward as burning debris rained down around them. Hack's lungs burned as he ran, the heat of the flames singeing his fur. He could hear the others right behind him, their footsteps pounding in sync with his racing heart. As they burst out of the inferno and into the relative safety of the spaceport, Hack allowed himself a moment of hope. They had made it this far against impossible odds. Maybe, just maybe, they could find a way off this planet and continue their fight against Empress Aria's tyranny. But as he turned to make sure everyone had made it, Hack saw the grim determination on Jeb's face. They had escaped the immediate danger, but their race was far from over. The galaxy still hung in the balance, and the crew of the Broken Promise, what was left of it, was the only hope for freedom. The spaceport loomed before them, a potential gateway to their next challenge. As they prepared to search for a ship, Hack knew that whatever came next would push them to their absolute limits. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this. And please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.